Hello and welcome to Raven Light Healing Meditations. This is my 100-day Sit for Peace challenge. When I saw the Walk for Peace, I asked myself what I could do in my life to make more peace for myself and my community. So I got the idea to do this 100-day challenge where every day for 100 days I will sit for 1 hour in mindfulness practice. And today, again, I'm getting to do it at the Emerald Tea House in Jacksonville, Florida. It's an awesome space for events, meditations, sound baths, qigong, yoga, and even locally organically made food and teas. So check it out. And before I start today, I'm going to get my own little tuning so you can see an example of some of the stuff that happens at the Emerald Tea House. Awesome. Now that I'm all tuned up, get ready for my meditation. Day 16 of my 100-day mindfulness challenge. I'd like to start by sending gratitude to everyone that has supported me and even everyone else who doesn't even know I'm doing this. Okay. Getting into position to meditate is easy. First, you get your body into position, back straight, head facing forward, looking straight ahead. Close your eyes, hands in your lap or on your knees. Then you get your mind into position. Just focus it on the breath. And as for what's going to happen when you bring your attention to the breath, just set all those thoughts aside. The breath is right here. You don't have to search around too much to find it. once you have found the breath, the next step is keeping the mind here with the breathing. This may take a little effort because our mind is used to jumping all around. It has a sense of there being some entertainment in jumping around. You get bored, so you jump to something new. We want to train the mind to stay right here with the breath. Allow the breathing to become really comfortable. And on each exhale, say to yourself, relax. We want to give the mind a nice, solid place to stay, and then remind it, you can stay here. You don't have to jump. This way, the mind can begin to relax and dissolve into the object of meditation. When you focus on the breath, you want to become one with the breath. And once the breathing has become really comfortable, we begin to expand our awareness to fill the body. Stretch your awareness, saturating everything from your fingers to your toes, the top of your head, the base of your spine, the soles of your feet, your abdomen, palms. Allow awareness to explore every space in the body. As you stay with the breath, try to keep your focus on the mind and body. As steady and continuous as you can. The more continuous your focus, the more you see how things are actually connected, how things are all related to one another. Whatever's happening in the universe, the basic pattern is something you can discern right here in the present moment. In the beginning of our practice, there may be pauses in our awareness. And what you want to do as you meditate is develop an awareness that is continuous and steady. An awareness that keeps going and going and going. There may be a rhythm to the breathing, and underneath the in and out breath is another level of breath energy. This energy is continually there, like background noise in the body. So to make your awareness continuous, that's what you want to focus on, this background energy. Sometimes you notice it as the energy in the body during the pauses between the in-breath and the out-breath. There's a slight pause in the breathing, and yet there's still energy in the body that lets you know the body's sitting here. The more you tune in to this more subtle level of energy, the less you need the breath as your focus. The breath becomes just one aspect of a larger field of breath energy that begins to grow more and more calm. because you're down on another level. You've tuned in to another level that's more continuous, that can be used as a basis for insight. When your awareness is continuous and the breath is continuous, you just stay there together. That's what we're working toward. Practice being sensitive to even the slightest flaps in your awareness. If the mind has wandered off, bring it back. We continue practicing to maintain a steady, constant flame of awareness. This practice strips things down to their essentials, with the realization that if you try to take on too many things all at once, you end up not doing anything very well. This is what the principle of renunciation is all about. Realizing that some problems are more important than others, and some solutions more important than others as well. Some forms of happiness last longer than others do. wisdom starts with asking the question, what, when I do it, will lead to my own long-term welfare and happiness? The emphasis is on long-term, and it builds on the realization that you are responsible for the actions that will lead to that happiness. So we have to look at ourselves with the realization that we have only so much energy. Given the fact that we have limitations in our time and energy, we want to make the best use of them. We want to focus our time and energy on the issues that really do make a difference, and be willing to give up other issues that are not so important. We can think of this as a process of simplification. You want to simplify your life. Cut away the unnecessary clutter. Let go of the suffering. In this way, there are hard choices to make. And so it's best to look at it as a trade-off. You can spend your time on activities that give immediate results that don't last very long, or on activities that give more long-lasting results but take more effort, more time, more patience, more precision. Ultimately, you realize that the best trade is the one where you give up lesser forms of happiness for more long-lasting ones. ones that speak to the really deep issues in life. What are those issues? As humans, we are very active creatures. We're constantly acting, constantly putting forth an effort of some kind or another. So the question is, what's the best use of that effort? As long as we're putting forth effort in some direction, we want to get results that last, even though the effort itself might not last. With all the energy that goes into the effort, we want good results to show for what we've done, so we can look back at our lives and say, yes, that was a life well spent, a life well worth the effort involved. At the very end of life, it's all going to seem so short. Just that little bit of time we have here as human beings. We want to make sure that we use it wisely. Look at your life in the same way you'd look through an attic, deciding what you're going to keep and what you're going to throw out. You're moving from a house with a large attic into a smaller space. Some things need to be thrown out so that you have space in the trailer for the things that really mean something to you. In other words, there are things you've got to give up in order to have the time for the things that really matter, that really make a difference, and that really do give substantial results. When you really think about it, you realize that the time best spent is the time spent developing good qualities in the mind, because those are things that can help you in any situation. You have to devote a certain amount of time to keeping the body strong. But even with our best efforts, our body still leaves us. And if the body fails, it can sometimes be a messy party. And in a case like that, you'll be glad for the time spent working on the mind. At the same time, the strength of the mind, when really developed, doesn't have to depend on the strength of the body. This is something you discover as you meditate. Ordinarily, when people are tired, they get in a bad mood. Or when they feel overwhelmed, they get angry or frustrated. But when you learn how to develop a greater sense of spaciousness in the mind, a greater sense of well-being in the mind, after a while, you begin to realize it doesn't depend on the level of energy in the body at all. The mind begins to have its own internal nourishment, its own internal place to recharge. This is why we spend so much time sitting here with our eyes closed, working on mindfulness, concentration, and discernment, because these are the qualities that will see the mind through any situation. Remember this when you feel like you're losing it. This is what you've lost: your mindfulness, concentration, and discernment. This is why we practice strengthening these qualities. Whatever time is spent making them stronger is time well spent. This is what's meant by taking refuge in the meditation practice. Realizing that if you focus on these few things, you don't have to worry about other things. You can really trust the practice to see you through. You can really trust yourself and the strength and knowledge of your mind. Often, our desire to cover all the bases is a fear that if one thing doesn't work out, something else will. And we hesitate to commit ourselves to a particular path of action for fear that it may not see us all the way through. Yet instead of providing us real protection, this attitude ends up giving us a life of nothing but bits and pieces. A little bit of this, fragments of that, a little bit of peace, a bit of wealth, a bit of health, but nothing in any solid measure. But through consistently practicing and developing mindfulness, the mind will learn to cover all contingencies. And because the practice of virtue, concentration, and discernment, all seeds for happiness, lie right here, that simplifies matters. It allows us to give our full energy to the things that matter most. As you practice, you find that real wealth develops inside. One of the first things that attracted me to the path of meditation was the retreat center and the teacher, our John Willie. He has a little retreat center in Plant City, Florida, just a couple of hours away. Nothing fancy, but he was happy. You could feel a very strong sense of well-being emanating from him. And you realize that it didn't depend on being wealthy. It didn't depend on being famous or having a lot of students or friends or anything. It was simply because he had worked on his mind. Whatever sense of well-being he had developed in the mind came through the practice. And as you come to know the practice, you realize exactly how all-encompassing it is. Once these qualities are developed in the mind, they take care of all kinds of situations. Qualities of mindfulness, discernment, and concentration are basic to any skill, basic to our ability to deal with any situation. So by focusing on these few things, we really do cover all the bases. One of the good things about this practice is that it's so big and expansive. You can give your whole life to it, and it's something worth giving your life to because it teaches you what you need to know. It teaches you the skills you need to handle whatever life throws at you and more. We've all heard the phrases, know thyself. As within, so without. As above, so below. When you allow your mind to open, it broadens out because you're not confining the mind with narrow, petty issues. You're dealing with the few really big, essential issues, and it covers everything. If, when you see that there's a greater happiness that comes from abandoning a lesser happiness. Be willing to abandon the lesser happiness for the sake of the greater one. That's a principle that covers all situations. Realizing that as long as we're putting forth effort into our lives, we might as well put forth effort that will create peace, harmony, love, and connection. The work you do with your mind is something no one can ever take from you. And the effort that goes into the practice gives long-term benefits in terms of developing the qualities of the mind, opening us up to new dimensions that we never could have imagined otherwise. When you're practicing, remember, you're giving up the habit of scattering your energy around in exchange for a better habit, one of focusing on the qualities of the mind that will see you through every situation and even take you beyond situations themselves. So even though it may seem simple, we're sitting here focusing on the breath coming in and going out. And we're observing the mind and the whole body sitting, breathing. It may not seem all that profound or intellectually stimulating, but it's one of the essentials. Not only the breath in and of itself, but the habits we develop as we keep the mind focused on the breath. We develop mindfulness, alertness, persistence, and clarity of mind. These skills are basic to all skills in life. A developed mind is a mind you can depend on, a mind you can trust. It's like the passage. The self is its own refuge. It means that ultimately you have to be your own refuge. And you can do that if you develop these qualities that make you dependable. If you depend on them, ultimately you find that they allow you to depend on yourself. And it's a practice that comes with a 2,600-year-old guarantee. And so we have completed almost day 16 of my 100-day challenge. Thank you so much. May you find enough peace and goodness in others to believe in a world filled with peace. We gotta click. There was something going on. I was trying